welcome to Bonita's Kitchen and thank you for joining us. What I'm going to be cooking for you today is prime rib roast Yorkshire pudding dinner. And I'm so glad that I'm bringing this recipe to you today just in time for New Year's Day dinner. So it's quite a few steps to this delicious recipe, but all could be done in a record time to put it on your table for New Year's Day or any special occasion that you would like to make it for. So let's get started. So first off, we'll get started with seasoning up our roast, our prime rib roast. We'll talk a little bit about that as we go. I got some fresh vegetables that was picked in my brother-in-law's garden and harvested in October. These broccolis we're going to be steaming, and then we got all of our ingredients for making our Yorkshire. So let's get started on seasoning up our prime rib roast. So I've got right now a 2.5 pound of prime rib roast cut, and I got a mixture of seasonings. I got ground thyme, ground rosemary, I got black pepper, some salt, sea salt, and I got 3 cloves of garlic. So what we're going to do, we're going to rub this on equally on both sides and grate the garlic over it, and that's where we'll start. So this is pretty much I put together some seasonings just so that we could rub it all over this roast to put the flavor. If you got some seasonings that you would like more than what this is, you can go ahead and put that together. But this is the ones that I like using when I'm cooking my prime rib. So flip it over and do it on the other side. So if you don't have one of these press, you can just cut it up in little pieces or use your grater and grate the garlic cloves in there. And you can also use garlic seasoning if you want to do that, but I like fresh garlic on using for something as amazing as this. So just all your spices. So what I'm going to do now is bring over my pan with a grate inside because I wanted to keep it from the bottom, and put the roast out onto that. Just like that, taking all of that goodness with it. Just want to dry my hands. So that part is done, and again, that's just a little bit of thyme, about 1/2 teaspoon of each one, salt, pepper, thyme, and rosemary. Now I got about 1.5 cups of beef broth, and I'm going to be putting it to the bottom of this pan. As you can see, it's just to help when the roast is dripping off all of its juices. It's mixing with this because I need to have this to make a delicious gravy, and that's coming up a little later in this episode. And what I want to do, I want to put some onion and some celery around my prime rib, so that's what I'm going to do next. So I hope I'm making you hungry right now just even looking at this prime rib roast, because of those of you that enjoy any roast, this is by far one of my favorites. So just cut up the onion and the celery in chunks like this and have it around, and this is as well building flavors, so when we go to make that gravy, it's going to be equally as delicious as our prime rib roast. I'm trying to stop crying from cutting up that onion, but I'll continue on telling you what the next step is so as we can further on into this program. We're going to be baking our roast on 425 for the first 25 minutes, and that'll make it a nice crispy brown on the top to lock in the juice before we start baking it. And for every pound is 16 minutes in the oven. So if you got a 2.5 pound roast like this, you can just gauge it that way, and the standard roast is anywhere from 5 to 6 pounds. So I'm going to start mine in the oven there now so as I can get making the Yorkshire, cutting up the vegetables, and we can pull this together so you can see what the end result is. So let's get going. And as well, we'll share a recipe at the bottom of this video. There's a link there. You can see the recipe when it's uploaded to YouTube. So what we're going to do now is start making our Yorkshire pudding. I'll get all the ingredients in, tell you as I go. So let's get going. Okay, so we're going to be using 4 large eggs. And this recipe that I'm giving you here today is for 12 Yorkshire puddings in a muffin pan. And they are so delicious. And what's so lovely about these Yorkshire puddings, if you can't eat them all on one serving, you can put it in a freezer bag and freeze it and have it whenever you want it. So that's 4 eggs into a bowl. And whisk that around. We're going to be putting in 3/4 of a cup of milk and a tablespoonful of water. So we're going to mix that around and add in gradually a cup of flour and a half a teaspoonful of sea salt. A little bit of moisture going on here today because of my boiler boiling there. So keep whipping this until it's a smooth batter. No lumps. Okay, so my batter now is nice and smooth. I got 1/3 of a cup of vegetable oil here, and that's to put in the muffin pans. And there's a muffin pan. I got a silicone one. You could use tin, that's fine. And this is to go in each cup, and I'll show you what that looks like. Let's get going. Okay, so before I start filling my muffin pans with the batter, with the Yorkshire pudding batter, I'm going to show you what the end result is like. I baked some Yorkshire pudding in advance because I only got one oven, and I want to rotate this so everybody can get to see all the steps. So the big reveal, this is the Yorkshire puddings that is going to be at the end of when we bake them. But I will show you what they look like in the pans to start. So here they are. And these Yorkshire puddings, as you can see, they're easy to come out. Having the oil put into the pans first, and I'm using, like you said, a silicone pan, and I always find these silicone pans, they don't stick, and they're wonderful for baking muffins or Yorkshire puddings. So pretty much that's it. Now what we're going to do is fill those back up with the Yorkshire pudding batter, and I'll show you what that looks like. I'm sure I'm making you hungry now looking at those Yorkshire puddings. Can you imagine now having a nice piece of that prime rib roast with this, and the vegetables and the gravy over it? Big reveal. So what you would do next with your muffin pan, I only got one muffin pan like this, so I wanted to wait to show you what you need to do. You need to put it in the oven first on 350-degree heat. It doesn't matter what the temperature is, for about 5 minutes. You want to warm your pan before you put this batter into it, but I'm going to show you what it's like after it's warmed, so that we don't have to wait that long. And that helps automatically for your Yorkshire pudding to start building that big reveal and baking quicker when you put it in there. So first, after it's warm, you put in a little bit of oil in each cup. So you're just going to pour equal amount of oil in each muffin cup. And this is your base part of a Yorkshire pudding. So your pan needs to be warm for about 5 minutes in the oven, and just pour it in where it's just got a little bit of oil in there like this. Then you're going to take your batter and put equal amounts, only up to about 1/4 to a half waist in your muffin pan. These are tall. The normal size of the muffin pan is smaller than this, so 1/4 to half in each muffin cup. So just keep doing this until you get all the muffin tins. I got a pan in under my muffin pan because this is a little rubbery, and I don't want for it to fall. And as well, if it decides that it's going to come up just humongous and leak out over your pan, it's not going to go into your oven. It's going to be caught on the pan, but it shouldn't do that when you just put this amount in there. So continue sharing up the batter in each cup. Okay, so that was the last amount of batter, and I got all of them equally in each cup. I'm going to clean around the top part to take any of the batter off the pan, and again put it on a cookie sheet, and then in the oven on a 425 degree preheated oven for 25 minutes. You can look in at it occasionally if you want to watch it start to bake, but after that it'll be this nice brown golden color, and it'll be crispy and hollow on the inside, and that's what you want it to look like right there. So I'm going to put this to the side to put in the oven when my roast is ready, so we'll get going on our vegetables. Okay, so now I'm going to get to the vegetable part of our prime rib dinner. I'm going to put in a half a teaspoonful of salt into my boiling water because I want to get that salted. Never put salt into a pot that's not boiling because it'll just sit at the bottom and it'll gradually eat away at your pot, so you don't need that. While that's just continuing to boil, I'm going to start cutting up my vegetables. As you can see, they are absolutely, like this turnip is unreal, and this is some blue potatoes that my brother-in-law had farmed, and they are, when I cut it, I'll show you, they got like blue right on in through the potato. This is just the peel there, and then the carrots, delicious. So I'm going to get starting to peel that now. So this meal that I'm making today is only going to be for 4 people. So if you want to have more broccoli, more cauliflower, or vegetables, you just gauge it. 1 potato per person. The same thing with the carrot. When you're cutting it, 1 carrot per person, and you go from there when it comes to how to know how much to put in there. So I'm just going to take a light peel off. Normally when it comes straight from the garden, you can just wash it, and that's all you really need to do with these new vegetables. But because it's been there for a couple of months now in cold storage, I want to just take a little bit of the peel off, and I can still, it smells amazing. So thank you to my brother-in-law for giving me these vegetables this year. So what I want to do, I don't want to cook the carrot full carrot. I want to cut it into chunks, because when I display it on the plate, I want pieces of carrot. I just don't want one piece, one full carrot. So I'm just cutting it in chunks there now. Then I'll get to my turnip and potato, and then after we'll talk a little bit more about what we're going to do. So I just want to take the peel off the turnip, and of course it's also called rutabaga. In Newfoundland, the rutabaga we call turnip. We know the difference, but it's just, I guess, is the way we grew up calling it a turnip, even though we know it's rutabaga. So I'm going to cut this now as well into pieces, and then it makes for a quicker cooking time as well. And then I'll do my potato, and then that's it. I'm just going to cut this skin off lightly, and as you can see the blue, almost looks like purple, but they call it blue potatoes, red potatoes, blue potatoes, and they are delicious. They're not sweet, but they just got a different flavor, you know. So anyway, I'm just going to cut a little bit of the peel off of this, and that's what it looks like. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is remove the lid, and I'm only going to be putting the turnip and the carrot into the water right now, And the potato I'm going to be putting in almost to the end, maybe the last 15 minutes, because I don't want it to overcook. And the broccoli and the cauliflower I'm going to be putting in my steamer and putting on the top of the boiler just to steam. So I'm going to get all of this in there. Okay, so I'm going to drop this in there, and then I'm going to be putting a double boiler just on the top there with holes in the bottom, as you can see, and this is going to steam the broccoli and the cauliflower. And the last 15 minutes of my boiling of my vegetables, which are probably in there for maybe 20 minutes, I'm going to add in the potatoes. So I guess right now I'm going to do a little recap because we're at a little bit of a standstill. We got our vegetables on boiling, our broccoli and cauliflower on steaming. We got a roast in the oven, the first off on for 25 minutes on a 425 degrees of heat, and then after turn it back to 350 and then continue cooking for the duration of your roast. I don't know what size of a roast you're going to be cooking, but it's 16 minutes for every pound, so you can do the math on that. The Yorkshire puddings are baked, the ones that I did in advance, and I'll get the other ones in the oven, but just as long as we got some to show you. And then once everything comes together, I'm going to show you how to make the gravy to go over this delicious dinner, and we'll plate it up. So I guess meet you back here when my roast is cooked and we'll make the gravy. Welcome back to Bonita's Kitchen, and thank you for joining me. What we're going to do now is take our prime rib roast out of the oven, and then I'm going to let it rest for 10 to 15 minutes before cutting into it. Our vegetables is boiled, and our broccoli and cauliflower is steamed. And we also got our extra tray of Yorkshire pudding baked, so we got lots of Yorkshire pudding here today. So I'm going to go get my roast. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Okay, I'm going to make the big reveal, but remember, when you're opening up your oven door, you got steam coming out. You want to let that steam come out first before you get in there, because you don't want to burn yourself. Pull out my roast and take it back to my counter. Okay, I'll put it down on my counter. Keep my mitts there because I'm going to need it. What I'm going to do now is put my prime rib roast out on a platter. I'm going to let it rest for about 10 to 15 minutes, and we'll get taking our vegetables out. Okay, so pretty much what I'm doing here now, I got prime rib roast put on a platter. I just took up my steamed vegetables. I want to take this grate out of here and just move it to the side, because I need all of the juices from my pan put into this little pot, because we're going to make gravy. We want to get that done so we can put all this together and you can get to see it. Just going to move this to the side. So pour all of the drippings from your roast into your pot. And then what we're going to do is add in about 2 cups of the vegetable broth, and then we'll start making our gravy. So depending on how much gravy you want to make, this portion of gravy, what I'm making here now, is going to be enough for the 4 people that I'm making the gravy for. So that's about 2 cups of the vegetable broth, and it was about, I would say, about 1.5 cups of the drippings from that delicious prime rib roast. I'm going to get this boiling there now, and I'll tell you what I'll add in next. Okay, like I was saying, we're going to get this gravy going here now. So we just got the liquid from the prime rib roast. We got the vegetable broth. I'm going to add in some gravy browning. And usually in Newfoundland, and any Newfoundlanders that is watching, we love our gravy browning. It really got no taste, it just colors or pot. You can do the same thing if you wanted to use a different browning, maybe a Worcestershire sauce or soya, and a little small bit of OXO. So I'm going to pour in two little drops from my gravy browning and about a half a teaspoonful of the OXO. And that's just again to build up those flavors. And if you don't have that, you can substitute. All right, so let's continue boiling our liquid. Okay, I hope everybody's following along and you are so hungry you're ready to make this for your next meal. 1/4 cup of flour or cornstarch, and this is for the thickening for a gravy. And 1/2 cup of cold water. Pour it right into a mason jar, because you're going to use your mason jar as the mixer. And you're going to shake it until all of the flour or the cornstarch, whatever you decide to use, is all mixed too, and it's making a little bit of a roux. And this is going into our broth. So after you see that it's starting to do a gallop roll, the liquid, you're going to gradually pour in your paste. And this is to help thicken the gravy. And you may not need it all, just until it gets to the consistency that you like. Let it be a light gravy or a thick gravy. So as you can see, the gravy is boiling nice there now, and it's at the consistency that I wanted. Now what I'm going to do is cut my roast, the big reveal. Okay, now comes the big reveal. Bring my roast over to my cutting board, and remember, for the temperature that I gave you for baking your roast, depends on if you want it medium rare, if you want it medium or well done. This one is going to be a medium, so you're going to have medium on the ends and a little bit rare as it gets in. But I'm going to cut it now and show you what it looks like. Okay, so you need a nice sharp knife as well. Just look how nice and pink this roast is. So sharpen your knife before you start. Let your roast rest nice before you cut, and then cut into it. And this is a nice medium roast. Okay, I think that's about good for me right now. I'm going to put, as you can see, the remainder of my prime rib over there onto my platter, and I'm going to show you, take a little piece at a time, put there, and then I'm going to start plating. Today I'm going to plate up extra plate, and then I'll show you what it looks like. I'm so excited to plate this, and I hope that you're just as excited to make this prime rib dinner. And when you put your prime rib on your plate, you put your Yorkshire right on top of it, because that's where you want that. I'm going to reach for some vegetables. I want to plate this plate so that I can have a taste and show you and tell you what it tastes like. Okay, so I'm going to put that much there for now, and then I'm going to put a nice helping of gravy over the top. This is my husband's favorite part, and I know he's drooling there now while I'm putting all this over. So this could be your New Year's Day dinner, or it could be for any special occasion that you want to cook it. But this is what it looks like, and it's as good as it gets. And before I have a little taste, I'm going to add not a little bit of pepper, because I love my pepper. And always keep your gravy on warm, because you want hot gravy over your dinner. I'm going to bring this to the table, and I'm going to sit down and have a little taste. Okay, now I'm going to have a nice taste of this delicious prime rib roast and a taste of the Yorkshire.
I couldn't wait.
So delicious and moist. The Yorkshire is just perfect. Thumbs Up by Bonita's Kitchen, and I'm sure by Raymond. So don't forget, if you want more meals like this and recipes, don't forget to go to my website and www.bonitaskitchen.com and subscribe to my YouTube channel. So we'll toast
This
to.
is definitely as good as it gets.
It is, and we'd like to wish
a good friend of ours, Wayne, you know who you are. Very happy birthday.
and many more. So from my kitchen to yours, thank you for joining us today, and you have a wonderful day.